A scandal is shaking Germany, the echoes of which have reached the United States. Anna Baerbock's resume, as investigative journalists claim, turned out to be largely fake. And now the Americans have also taken notice. It all started when American politicians, mostly Republicans, questioned Baerbock's competence. In their opinion, her English can hardly be called adequate. It is full of mistakes, which looks, to put it mildly, strange for the chair of the UN General Assembly. And now, the scandal with her biography has erupted with renewed force. Annalena Baerbock has been the chair of the 80th session of the UN General Assembly in New York since September 2025. Yes, she chairs the plenary sessions of the United Nations. This is a very prestigious position. From 2021 to 2025, she represented Germany on the international stage, and now she sits in the United States and moderates debates of 193 member states. Many see this as a career boost, but it is here in America, where transatlantic relations are considered sacred, that her old resume surfaces, which, as it turned out, was far from impeccable. When Baerbock was the Green Party's candidate for chancellor, she was under tremendous pressure. FAZ newspaper journalist Philip Plickert carefully studied her biography and suddenly discovered several false or misleading pieces of information. Her resume listed more than a dozen memberships in prestigious organizations to create the image of a competent and influential politician. According to the journalist, a particularly piquant detail was the German Marshall Fund. This is an American organization that works to strengthen relations between the U.S. and Europe. Baerbock claimed to be a member and even on the alumni board, but Plickert sent a request and received a letter from the fund. No, she was not a member. The press service confirmed this in black and white. Next, the UN Refugee Agency. Baerbock also indicated membership in this structure, but it is not possible to be a member of the UN agency as if it were a club. This is not a public association, but an international organization. It turned out that she simply made a donation to the German partner of this organization. A similar story with the Heinrich Böll Foundation. She used to be on the Council on Europe and Transatlantic Relations, but left it long ago, although in the resume, it was presented as if she were still an active participant. And the Welt newspaper found out that she incorrectly indicated the dates of her work in Brussels. Baerbock reacted quickly and corrected the resume, but the reputational damage had already been done. So why is this story exploding now? Baerbock is in New York in close proximity to circles associated with the German Marshall Fund and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. The German Marshall Fund is an American structure, and it is the one that, according to reports, confirmed that Baerbock lied. In transatlantic circles, where trust is everything, this fact is seen as a worrying sign. Many in the United States, as some observers believe, do not consider Baerbock particularly competent anyway, recalling her blunders as foreign minister. And now, when she is supposed to be a neutral and trustworthy chair at the UN, this old story is coming to the fore again. As critics say, she traveled to the post of foreign minister as if in a sleeping car, and ultimately to the UN. This can be considered a strategic mistake, especially when her initiatives place a financial burden on citizens. However, it is difficult to accuse the Greens of hiding their intentions. Perhaps this is why their election results will be worse than expected. But at least it's honest. Whoever votes for the Greens knows what they are getting. But it turns out that a person who, according to the press, was caught faking her resume is now the chair of the UN General Assembly. Alice Whittle, as reported, just shakes her head about this. According to her, this is only possible in Germany. And what's worse, in her opinion, it is even supported by Merz, the country's chancellor. Whittle emphasizes that in the past, there were real consequences for fake or embellished biographies. Just recall the scandal with Karl Theodor zu Guttenberg's dissertation. He then had to resign. In the case of Baerbock, according to her, such things are simply swept under the rug. Marcus Frangemeyer sharply criticized Annalena Baerbock and demanded her immediate resignation. In his interpretation, a falsified resume is not a petty offense, but a serious abuse of trust that undermines her authority as chair of the UN General Assembly. A person who lies about their own qualifications has no moral right to lecture or criticize world leaders such as Donald Trump or Xi Jinping. At a time when Germany needs strength and honesty in foreign policy, Baerbock's self-promotion, according to him, is an unacceptable scandal that shames not only her, but the entire country on the international level. And then, if you believe the sources, there was a real face-to-face meeting. Baerbock and J.D. Vance met to discuss Russia. The Trump administration, as you know, relies on diplomacy and pragmatism to achieve peace with Russia. Vance accused Baerbock of restricting freedom of speech in Europe and that her ideological military rhetoric threatens peace. Baerbock retorted, speaking about the militant democracy of Europe. In her opinion, the main enemy is Russia, and not the isolation of parties such as Alternative for Germany. But Vance, as his supporters believe, exposed her double standards. How can you talk about democracy while ignoring millions of voters? Vance went even further. He condemned the way the German government and intelligence services are branding Alternative for Germany as right-wing extremist in order to make it invisible. In a democracy, all voices must be heard. Left, right, it doesn't matter. This year, AfD was once again not allowed to attend the Munich Security Conference. But Vance, according to observers, showed that the truth cannot be forbidden. Outrage in the United States, as reported, is great. How could Annalena Baerbock, whom her critics call a diplomatically completely incompetent foreign minister, claim a post at the UN? Republicans, if you believe the leaks, are just throwing up their hands. Baerbock is supposed to represent Germany, but in their opinion, she does not speak on behalf of the German people. Sources in the White House, according to rumors, called Baerbock's words detached from reality and hypocritical, since the United States considers Maduro a criminal and a dictator who will finally be held accountable. Whittle even suggests that Baerbock was deliberately pushed into this position in order to promote a one-sided ideological agenda, rather than engage in real mediation or contribute to de-escalation of international conflicts. The UN was originally created as a neutral diplomatic organization for resolving disputes and maintaining peace. But under the influence of Baerbock, as her opponents believe, it risks increasingly turning into an instrument of personal and party campaigning, which further undermines confidence in the entire institution. Baerbock's moral sermons are a slap in the face for countries that have long been under the tutelage of the West. They are laughing at us, they say, in Moscow, in Delhi, in Istanbul, in Buenos Aires. Alice Weidel states, Germany, once a beacon of diplomacy, is becoming a laughingstock because we are silent, because we are turning away, because we are allowing ideology to defeat competence. The damage that Baerbock has caused, according to critics, is real, but it is not irreversible. A story that makes you think.